In this video, we will be looking at App Designer installation. In order to install the App Designer, there are some prerequisites. First of all, you must download the installer from this website, and then you need to have the installation profile from your subscription manager. Instructions on how to download an installation profile can be found in this link. Next, we will need to have SQL Server 2014 or a later version available. If you are installing onto an IIS, that is that you are running the installer from the machine which has the IIS on it, and that's where you want to deploy, then of course you need IIS 7.0 or later. You will need to have .NET Core 3.1 module installed on the IIS, and also HTTPS and WebSockets enabled. If you want to install to a folder, which is that you want to create some sort of a deployment package and will then deploy it onto maybe cloud or some other server which is not directly accessible by the installer, then all you need is the DNS name. Now, once you have downloaded the installer, you can double click on the exe, and this will now set your machine up for the installation. Once it completes, you should go to the Start menu and search for App Designer and run it as administrator. Click on Next button and then choose to install. Choose the components you want to install. In this case, I will choose both database and the web application. You can then choose if you want to install to an IIS or a folder. I'll show you both options. So let's choose IIS first. Now we need to provide the database server details. So first of all, I will provide the SQL Server, which in this case for me is in Azure. Next, we should provide some authentication details for our user that we will be using to install, but also to configure our application. Next, we must choose the database that you want to install on. You can choose to create a new database. However, if you are installing on Azure or a cloud platform, then it's best to have the database already created, even if it's just blank. I'll choose an existing database that I created and then click Next. On this screen, I'm supposed to provide the IIS server details. I can choose the name for my application pool, which security account it should use, and then the DNS name under which this site is going to be installed. If you want to install as a subdirectory, you can provide the virtual directory name over here. Click Next to continue, and you will then be asked for the installation profile. Now let's backtrack a bit and look at the other option, which is folder. Now on this screen, you will notice since we chose to install to a folder, it is asking me where we should install. I can give it a path which must be an empty directory. Next, I need to provide the DNS name. That's the name under which it is going to be running on the server. You can then choose the application name. This is required for the subscription manager to uniquely identify this installation that you're about to do. You can also add the virtual directory if you want to, and then the URL it will set up will be the DNS name / this name. Clicking on Next will bring us back to the same screen we were on before, where we are supposed to provide the installation profile. Upload the installation profile, and next I can choose to create the subscription by default to the account that I'm going to use to install App Designer. If you don't want that to happen, you can leave this unchecked. Clicking on Next will make the installer ask for the credentials it should install under. These credentials must be of your super admin, which is an admin user on XMPRO company on your subscription manager. Once you have provided that, you're ready to install. Click Next for the installation to proceed. Once the installation completes, you can finish the installer. And now your database should have been set up on the SQL Server you provided, and the folder path that you used to install would now have all the required files. If we had installed on IIS, our IIS would have already been set up and we would be ready to browse to it now. However, since we chose install to folder, we can now zip these files and deploy them onto the server. If you're using a key vault or a key store to store config settings on cloud, you can modify the app settings file here as per the documentation found on the doc side to replace the config with your key store parameters. It is a good idea to keep this path and folder on your machine so that next time you can upgrade the same installation when the new version comes around. So that is how you install App Designer.